se avanoa le fu lea le suafa manu malo o le tātou li whaolo Iesu Keriso o te whatalo whatu le paia ma le mamalu o le tātou tāpua inga le nei tai au fōu. Whamalo whawhitai o le ua whawhangu I tātou o le tātou atuanga le lei ma ua ala whai mai ua whawhawina lo tō malosi ia e mai se fōi so mātou malosi tātou te uru whale mai ai lo na malu malu paia si ia ele taulanga o le vi inga ma le wha manu ma le wha le tanga I lo na alofa ma lo na anga le lei. Wha ta alofa atu le tātou e kāle sia I a inga lotu ta itasi uma ia e meise he mātutua se I o na ia tātou whanau. Wha ta alofa atu fo I nisi o tātou a inga asesi mai o I lātou o lo tātou whaitapua inga I tonu o le nei malu malu. Ia e meise fo I lātou o lo tāpua I mai whanua I maota malawa I lunga o penga te whailangi. Whatalo whātu le suafa o le tātou o li I whaolo Iesu Keriso. Tālofa Tamaiti. Ia, ma nei a le whaalongolongo atu I au tau pespesenga le nei tai au. Le ua mata ona ulangona le maa nei o si ufonga o tau. Ia, whamalo whaftai li tātou ngā ruenga le nei tai au. A mesi fo I le to anga mai tātou wa anga sa. Ia, tātou te mafutai. Ia ma tātou lo lotu ai whaftai mātua I la o tō ngā ruenga whaiwhai pēr I le tuina mai o whanau le aonga sa. Tamaiti o le aso le nei. O le manatu au tū o le launga le aso nei o e whatau waa mea uma. All is vanity. O le utala fo ilanda al tātou tala le fi whamtala ne tai au. Whapirtania. All is vanity without God. E whatau waa mea uma e Aunoa ma le Atua. This is a true story, all right? There was a businessman in Chicago in the early 1900s. He spent all his life working, making money, and he was one of the most respected people in the community. He never had time to go to church or for God. One day, he was in bad shape. Business was in bad shape. He was deep in debt, could not see a way out. All his creditors were closing in on him. Suppliers were demanding payments. So he left his office and went and sat in a park on a bench. His hands on his head, wondering if anything could save his company from bankruptcy. And in that moment, out of the blue, he found himself whispering, God, please help me. He was someone never thought about God before, and now in times of trouble, he calls out, God, please help me. As he sat on that park bench, an old man sat next to him and said to him, I can see that something is troubling you. And after listening to the businessman's woes, the old man said, I believe I can help you. The old man asked for the businessman's name and wrote out a check and gave it to the businessman and said, take this money. Meet me here exactly 1 year from now, and you can pay me back at that time. The old man got up and walked away. The businessman looked at the check. It was for $500,000, a lot of money in the 1900s. And it was signed by John D. Rockefeller. I'm pretty sure all of you have heard about this man. He was the richest man in the whole world at that time. John D. Rockefeller. He was the founder of Chicago University and also Rockefeller University. So he was very famous, very rich. The businessman looked at the check and thought his worries were over. But then realized if he used the money and not make any profit, he cannot pay back John D. Rockefeller. But why would John D. Rockefeller help me unless he was sure I can recover my business? So he went back to the office, decides to put the check in the safe. knowing it was there if he needed it. And he started to shape and do things differently to try and get his business back to where it was. He realized that at the time, the moment he said, God help me, this old man, J.D. Rockefeller, turned up and gave him $500,000 to help his business. He felt God has answered his prayer. So with renewed faith, optimism, he negotiated better deals, extended terms of payment, and he closed some big sales, and he began to make a lot of money within a year. So when the year was over, he took the check that was still uncashed, still in the safe, and he went back to the park. Remember the old man said, I'll meet you here a year from now at this same place. So he went to the same park bench, sat down, and surely enough, the old man slid next to him. And just as the businessman was about to give J.D. Rockefeller back the $500,000 check, someone came up, hold the old man and stood him up and said to the businessman, oh, I am so glad I caught him. I hope he hasn't been bothering you. He always escapes from the rest home and tell people he is John D. Rockefeller. As she led this man away, the businessman just sat there, stunned, speechless, unable to make sense of what had just happened. For a whole year, while he was negotiating deals and thinking, I have a $500 check to fall back on, and now he realizes that this man was from the home pretending to be J.D. Rockefeller. It was at that moment the businessman realized that it is not money that had turned his life and business around. It was his newfound confidence and trust that God was there for him at the lowest part of his life and gave him the power to achieve anything he wanted. The moment we think we can do all things without God, that is the moment we fail. And that is because of vanity. As the prophet Zechariah said, not by might nor by power, but by spirit, says the Lord Almighty. E leo re fita fita, e leo re marosi, a o loa nganga. Fetalai mai ai le rio au, e manui ai mea uma. All is vanity without God. E whatau waa mea uma, e Aunoa ma le Atua. Tamaiti. That is our story for this morning. I hope you've taken some good lessons from that. Sometimes when you rely on your own strength, and your own wisdom, without God, that can fail. But here was a man who decided to ask God to help him. And in a way he got help through another person who was pretending to be J.D. Rockefeller. But God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? E ia awala le atua, tātou te malama lama murmurifo. Ia awala nae whaaleleia i le atua lo tō soifua lo tō wola. I'm asking you, Tamaiti, trust in Jesus' power. Trust in Jesus' power. In your schoolwork, everything you do in life, you just have to say to him like this man, God, please help me. That's our little prayer. Help me. And he will be there for you. Ia manuia tele o tō whanau. Ia? A whaiu tātou tala. Ia, ala tu watu pesele lua se lau tōsu lima e usuina e tātou a o ngā sā. Ia mwhai a o ngā sā. Lua se lau tōsu lima ala usuina le a o ngā sā tātou pesele.